Hi, so this is going to be my analysis for the song Smile on the RWBY soundtrack. This is one of my favourite songs on the RWBY soundtrack, so it's what got me thinking about them in the first place to make these videos. So I'm excited. Anyway, let's get to it. I love the drums here. They create a sense of calm, and they link back to Menagerie and Ilya's faunus heritage. It's a really it's a new use of instruments. No misdeed, still put your life on trial. Born like your family, far from any state of grace. You're as perfect as the wind and sky, but they'll treat you like you're out of place. Okay, so yeah, the drums create a sense of calm. It's new for Rooster Teeth. I like this. Obviously that goes away later, but that's why I think we need this, because I think that the whole song basically sort of it's been confirmed that it's Ilya's parents singing, but I don't think it's her like physical parents. I think it's her idea of her parents, and I think the whole song is an insight into her headspace during volumes 4 and 5, and because, you know, like for example, Summer is in Red Like Roses Part 2. That's a very underrated song, by the way. I might do analysis for that one day. I think it's like that song is like RWBY thinking about Summer. It's not actually Summer, like, you know, from the dead singing to RWBY necessarily. And I think that with this song in particular, that's worth pointing out. It might sound pedantic, but I think when we get to like the lyrics later on, that's what makes sense to me. But yeah, the drums are great. They're very atmospheric. They create this idea of calm, and I think this is relating to obviously Ilya's childhood. I think she's kind of nostalgic for that. Like her parents, well, it's going to be a dad, isn't it, singing specifically, but you're as perfect as the wind and sky. I think Ilya's parents loved her very much, from what evidence we do have. You know, they worked extremely hard to get her into a great school, to try and make sure that she was happy and looked after and like prepared for life. So that's what makes sense to me, and Ilya does clearly miss them and miss that time in her life when she was feeling loved and safe, because that was taken away from her quite violently. But it also does mention, sorry, I'm pointing to lyrics you can't see. It does mention obviously the faunus discrimination. Like they'll put your life on trial and they'll treat you like you're out of place. So I think that the discrimination that the faunus face has been an ever-present sort of like spectre, like looming over Ilya, even in the best time of her life. It's not like, you know, it was never there. Obviously, in some places it was better than others, like Menagerie. You know, she felt safer compared to Atlas, but just because she was in one place, it doesn't mean that it all went away or anything. And this also implies that the parents had to sort of sit her down and talk to her about this, which is quite a sad conversation to think about. But let's continue. So he's talking more about the faunus discrimination. I'll interrupt it there, I'll stop it there. That's what I think, obviously, that bit continues the discussing faunus discrimination stuff and her parents trying to look after Ilya. And then with the chorus, you get this sort of, the first time you hear the chorus, you get this twist. That's what I'm going to call it, because the tone of the song just changes completely. And I love it. It's so... it's disturbing, I guess. When you hear it for the first time, you're like, wait, did she say that? Yeah, she said that. And Ilya became twisted, you know? So I think that's a great sort of... because the song is not just lyrics, it's also all the instrument and how things are timed and all sorts of wonderful things that musicians do. And I think this was a very good way of like creating another cue for that. The drums, obviously, the calm, then obviously it goes quiet, and then the voices sort of become out of sync, like they were singing together, and then they become out of sync, then they become sort of whispery and hissy, and then you get this sort of, then you get that bit at the end, the lyrics, like, take what you need, leave them to bleed, let them know bitter while your revenge is sweet, which is obviously the lyrics becoming a lot less positive and a lot more destructive, let's say that. And I think that's a great, this is what I mean about it not being Ilya's actual parents. I think this is when the White Fang manipulated her and became her family. They call her like sister and stuff like that, you know, the creepy twins. I think that what they became a family and they manipulated what she thought she wanted and what she thought her parents might have wanted and stuff, and to just corrupting all that was in her head. And obviously she was thinking about her parents because they died and they were a family, and so this is a nice way of showing that. And then I think the female voice is more Ilya, like this is all Ilya, but this is like more herself than what her ideas of people. I do think the male voice is more Adamy later on, but we'll get to that. I just think that's fantastic. That gave me like goosebumps the first time, and it still does sometimes. And then it's very fast paced because Ilya won't let herself slow down and think about what she's doing. I love it. I love that lyric so much. That verse there, that has a lot. Okay, so first, obviously, that first bit is about Atlas, when she stayed in Atlas and she had to pretend to be human using her chameleon skin trait to blend in. And I think this is a great, like, she didn't go there to go undercover, learn things about humans and how to kill them, well, how to fight and then to kill them. She went there to become a huntress, because why else would you go? Unless you're like Raven Crow, but we'll set that aside. Yeah, so it's like, this is not what she planned, but when she's thinking back, she's sort of, you can make someone believe that they were doing something that they weren't doing with enough coercing, and I think this is showing that, because she, like, play their game now, do what it takes to win. She never thought of that. Like, I don't think school is a game. I don't know about you, but that, yeah, like, there was no, her parents didn't seem to want her to attack humans, at least, like, from what little we do know of them. I think Blake's line wouldn't be as powerful during that confrontation scene, you know, like, would your parents want you to do this if they actually did? That's my personal opinion. So I think this is them showing how she's been made to think a different way, even about her own experiences, which only she remembers. And also, there's like, you know, pretend you're just like them, living there like a princess in a kingdom of selfish men. Not only is that a good line, it reminds me of Weiss a little bit. There's a kind of, like, parallels in that sense of very different characters, which could be interesting. I don't know if they'd want to pick that up in the future volumes, but I would like that. I think there are two characters that could have an interesting dynamic and could be used to develop each other and the world of Remnant, with the faunus discrimination and everything going on in Atlas very well. And they refuse to look upon your skin. Obviously, that's a faunus trait, but also I don't think it's a secret that faunus discrimination is meant to parallel racism. It's not as great as an allegory as it could be, is all I'm going to say on that. But yeah, so it's obviously linking to what it's meant to mean. I think that this is a bit of a tangent, I suppose, but the whole thing in Atlas of, like, pretending to, like, be like the other girls and having to hide and having to conform and stuff like that. And obviously, don't know how to explain this. It's kind of like a gay storyline. You get it in media where a character is blank and they'll have to hide what they are, and if people find out, they'll come after them, or, you know, like, there's some kind of, like, people might think there's something wrong with them or something like that. It can be anything, like, usually it's something like a werewolf or something, but it's almost always like a straight person. But here they actually gave this sort of gay storyline to a gay character and the racism allegory to a woman of colour. So RWBY does have flaws, it does have many faults, but I'm happy about that, at least. I'm happy about Ilya. But sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent, but I think that's a great way of showing, like, just, sorry, I'm organising my notes. I think this is a great way of, I know it seems like a bit unrelated, but I think, like, obviously just having that little, leaning on that a bit, because obviously that Ilya isn't just like that, like, a lesbian of colour. Like, she has many other traits. We don't know them all yet because we haven't known her for very long, but she does have some other traits, and it's some of who she is, but it's not all of who she is, and it's in some of the song, but it's not the whole song. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I could go into that in a future video. I won't right now. strange place to stop, I suppose. Yeah, this bit, like, just plays further into the White Fang, making her think a certain way. Yeah, like, the whole thing makes it sound like she went there as some undercover agent, and then at some point she was gonna, like, use her skills to kill them all, which doesn't make sense with the image we have of Ilya as a child being sent to a good school by her loving parents and stuff. I don't think it was Ilya's intention, but it is her intention now, because that's how she's being manipulated by Adam's toxic version of the White Fang. And you have the chorus again, and then I said before, the male voice becomes more Adamy, and sounds Adamy. Get this cool guitar solo and obviously the chorus. Turn it down a bit so I can speak. But yeah, that male voice sounds very Adamy. I don't know how else to interpret it. Not only like pitch wise, sort of sounds a bit more like Adam from Shadows than the dad in the original bit of the song. I mean, the dad in the start of the song sounds quite gentle, and that does not. Like the whole words, like sometimes with some of the characters in the songs, you can look at the words and the language used, and you can like pick out whose is what. And the whole thing, like, you'll be glad you're not their kind. Like, Adam wants to kill humans, and like, just, yeah, that's what he wants to do. That's who he is. And you can see that with the lyrics, if Ilya ever sort of looked like she was straying or looked like she was uncomfortable with what she was doing, she wasn't given a chance to step back and to walk away from the situation. It's like, oh, well, you think this human might be, you know, not a bigot. Well, actually, remember those girls in Atlas, you thought they were your friends, and as soon as they found out what you were, they were disgusted by you, they were horrified. What'd she use? Terrified? Was that the word? Terrified, horrified. The point is, Adam convinced her. If she ever doubted, before she could even think that she was doubting, you can tell that she was convinced. That she was very much manipulated in a similar fashion to Blake. I think that's quite important to remember. I forgive Ilya, like, wholeheartedly. I look at Blake and I look at Ilya, and I'm like, well, they're quite similar in that fact. Like, not personality-wise necessarily, but just in what they've been through. So I forgive Ilya wholeheartedly. I'm glad that she finally got a chance to see another option. This implies that for a while, that was it. She was just surrounded by the White Fang and they controlled her, and that's what makes sense to me. But obviously when Blake came along, she challenged that, and eventually she made Ilya think that there was seriously another option, an option where she didn't have to hurt people, because she didn't want to hurt people. She even said that herself. So as soon as she believed that there was another option, she took it. I think that does say a lot about Ilya's character. And I'm very happy about this, because it's a great you know, RWBY hadn't really been looking for redemption arcs much. I think, you know, there wasn't really much evidence for them. They might be setting something up for Emerald. That's another video if anyone ever wants that. Ilya came from a loving home, and she went to an academy to learn how to become a huntress, to learn how to kill Grimm, to protect people, and people were horrible to her. Like, even she said, oh yeah, it was okay, I could pretend, but obviously that wasn't good for her. That was a toxic environment, to say the least. And as soon as, you know, everything was uncovered and it was out in the open, she couldn't stay there anymore. She couldn't face it, and I don't blame her. And her parents, like, when she said goodbye to her parents for that school year, she said goodbye to them for the last time. And she didn't know it. So this time she could have spent with her parents, she spent surrounded by humans. And they hated her. And she loved her parents. And that's time she's never going to get back. And then she goes home. And what's she going to do? That's her only I'm getting a bit emotional, sorry. Yeah. She goes home. She goes to be where her family, well, where she's from. And as soon as she's there, the White Fang slither along, you know, from the shadows, and they see someone who's vulnerable and who's upset for very good reasons, and they twist that. She wanted to learn how to fight, to kill Grimm, to protect people, and then they taught her to fight, to kill people in the name of, well, not even the name of the Faunus, because obviously, I don't think this is news to anyone, Adam's not a good leader for the White Fang. Pretty much anyone else, apart from the evil twins, the remaining twin, like, pretty much anyone who isn't Adam or that twin would probably be better. They literally, they turned love into spite. That's what I'm gonna say. If we're using words from, like, the show, they turned to a loving, potentially loving person and a kind person who wanted to become a huntress and serve the community, to someone that was willing to attack a school. It's a very, very sad situation, but I'm glad now because she has hope. She can actually serve the community, not just Faunus, but help save Remnant. You know, she can be on that team, even if she doesn't go to Atlas. I doubt that she's just gonna sit there twiddling her thumbs, and she'll be helping people, and she'll be surrounded by actual friends, actual family who care about her, and she can be loved and she can help people, and she might be happy for the first time in years. So, as sad as this all is, it's quite hopeful for Ilya, because listening back, it does make you think about all the horrible things that have happened, but they are in the past now. I got a bit emotional there. Sorry, I like Ilya a lot, if you couldn't tell. She is one of my favourites. I'm probably too indecisive to pick just one character to stat. But I hope you enjoyed this mess. Let me know your thoughts, I guess. And have a great day.